Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Hack Check podcast. I've got a very special guest today, Coach Juan Otto. Juan, thank you so much for being on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm not a coach at the moment, though.
Okay, but you're still a coach. I know you as the
You
coach.
can call me
So
that if you want.
yeah, man. We were just saying, other than the grading, I haven't seen you for a long time. What have you got going on these days? What are you up to?
I am for quite a long time. I was playing not single dad, but my wife's been in England, so I've been taking care of the little one at home, living with my parents. That's that. My work's pretty much been taking up most of my time.
Nice. And you're going over yourself as well soon, right?
Yes, I'll be over in about a month or so.
Nice. Okay. Into England or?
Yeah, UK itself, England, a little town called Olney, but it's pronounced Oni, like pony.
Okay. Only. Nice.
It's
Okay.
6,500 people in a little town. There's
Wow.
not even a police station.
Really?
Yeah. So,
Jeepers. So what are you guys moving there permanently or
correct.
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the start of our 5-year plan.
Nice.
And, once I get citizenship, I'm free to roam the Europe.
Yes, 100%. Do you have any idea what you're going to be doing that side?
That's the beauty of it. I'm in an espousal visa.
Oh,
I don't have a
nice.
working visa, so I'm not locked in.
Okay.
And the excitement of not knowing what's going to happen once I'm there, it's really like getting the heart pumping at the moment.
It's going to be a good thing to like just wake up in your day and just have nothing planned and just
Yeah.
do what you want to do when you want to do it.
Like sit back on the couch and think, damn, I'm unemployed right now. And just let it sink in for a moment. And then go on a job hunting spree. Like I've never had a CV before, so I'll have to write out my first CV. I'm excited for that.
You've never had a CV before?
No,
Why is that?
I work at a family business. So,
All right.
I don't know, a lot of people don't know this about me, and some people know that exclusively about me, but I work for a company named Otto Science. Back in the day, it was Cape Otto Science. My dad started this business like 35 years ago or something. And, when I was of age, naturally I went in there. And you don't write a CV to your dad, do you?
No, 100%, of course.
So, yeah, luckily he hasn't fired me yet. So I haven't had to go job hunting.
Yeah, is it tough working in a family business? Or I mean, I know it's probably it's all you know, right? On the working front.
It is tough, yes. There's pros and cons. Naturally, your dad is your boss, so you have to deal with your boss when you get home as well, and you have to deal with your dad when you get to work.
Right.
So there's a little bit of both, but it's nice. There's lots of perks, but I've also always wanted to prove myself, and you want to impress your dad too, and getting thrown into, okay, you are now going to do site work. And then start doing site work, and then you are now going to start do the health and safety for the business. So, like, where do I even start? So just get going on that. Do a couple of courses. It's more of he's taught me a lot, and I've had to teach myself a lot just working there. So I've had a wide range of experience across many fields working for him. So I can now take all these skills overseas. But yeah, it is a family business, so I wouldn't say, I almost said nepotism, but it's like my mom works there, my dad works there, my sister worked there for a while. And obviously, if I had my own business, I would allow my children to work there too.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's not like I didn't do all the scrappy work when I was like 16, 17. Yeah, holidays, we were there, earning a little bit of money on the side, helping to make signs.
So at what age did you get involved with that properly?
Properly at the age of 20. When I left school, I went to go study at Cape Tech, just, back here.
Yeah.
And first year went all right. Second year, I think I made 2 months, and I was like, I'm out.
What were you studying? Sorry,
Civil engineering.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was doing a foundation course, which is a 4-year course instead of 3.
Right.
So they split that intense 1 year into 2. Yeah, it really wasn't for me. I thought I wanted to be a civil engineer. Turns out it's not what I thought it was. I probably should have done more research.
Yes. So you did a year of that and then just decided that's not for you and then jumped straight full time into the family business.
No, I started to have my own little Jiu Jitsu gym. I got a church that would allow me to put my mats there. So I got some mats from Rico and everything. But Jiu Jitsu wasn't a thing really at the time. So everybody thought, karate or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
But Jiu Jitsu was an unknown. So I had someone help me. I did a demo and everything. First class, no one pitched up. I'm like, you know what? I'll just go teach at Rico's.
Yeah.
And I started teaching there, and I started teaching at different places as well. For a while, I did his kiddies classes. So I would go with him and, to the various schools and just see how he works with the children. At that point also, he didn't like cameras. Rico was shy, can you believe it or not?
Really?
And now he's on a podcast.
Oh, yeah. The first guest we had, actually.
yeah.
Thanks, Rico.
So yeah, if you believe it or not, Rico used to be shy. So I did his speeches to the teachers.
Right.
That also helped me learn how to talk to other people, like talk to audiences.
Yes. And this was what, about 12, 13 years ago, eh?
Oh yeah, like I'm 33 now, so yeah, it was 13 years ago.
Wow. And what belt were you at the time?
I didn't have a belt.
Okay. Was that still in your non-belt phase?
That was still in the non-belt form, I believe. No, wait. No, I was probably at that point like a purple belt, like fresh in. I think that's when Rio Grappling started to like merge with Rico Heiting's Mixed Martial Arts Academy, which was the name at the time.
Yes.
And I started teaching at like my own little branch of that, and when that happened, geez, my memories are really mixed up between all of those things. But Roberta came in, we got our belt, so yeah, I was probably about purple, maybe brown belt at the time.
What age did you start training with Rico? Because I know you were with Rico from quite a young age, right?
So I started with Rico when he started teaching, started to teach. Before that, I was with Ludwig Stradom.
Right.
So I started in 1994, 1995.
Wow.
Somewhere there in Para North pre-primary.
Yeah. Geez, you were 4 or 5 years old?
Yeah.
Wow. You literally grew up in Jiu Jitsu.
I did. It wasn't even called then. We called it karate because the name Jiu Jitsu it wasn't there.
Yeah, it wasn't known.
It wasn't known. It was called in club. It was called free fighting, but it was called karate or just martial arts by everyone else.
Yeah.
In fact, I had friends whose moms said, "No, you can't do it because it's occultish or it's slightly like an occultish thing." Yeah.
Really? What made them think that? Like.
It's just Afrikaans Christian people are a little bit suspicious.
Right. Okay.
So Ludwig used to come fetch us in our classes.
Nice.
Have an afternoon nap or something. I can't remember. I was very young. And he'd come fetch us, and we pack out our mats. Sometimes there weren't even mats, so we literally did our classes on the floors and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think classes back then was probably like 30 minutes.
And how many people were in the class usually?
I don't remember. We'd probably come from all the different classes and everybody go do their thing. I don't remember. I don't remember anyone that was in those classes anymore.
Is it?
Perhaps 1 or 2 people, but I don't know where they are in life now, and I can't name them.
So you started with Ludwig before Rico actually started with Ludwig then?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years. I think he started in 99 or 2000. I think he said he met Ludwig for the first time.
Okay. 99, 2000. Yeah, I think I was about 10 or so. So that was probably, I remember meeting Rico at a camp. And, he was an adult to me, but he was probably like 18, 19 at the time.
Yeah.
And he was our domicile, not instructor, but like, the chaperone of our little domicile that we had. That's where I met him. And then, I was actually only starting to roll with him at age 13 or 14, because I was doing like 6 classes of jiu-jitsu a week or 7 classes. I think my parents wanted me out of the house.
Yeah.
It was the only sport I could do. So it was the only sport I did, and I did as much of it as I could. So and it was like Tuesdays, do like 2 1-hour classes because you instruct the first class and you participate in the second. And after that, there's like a half an hour, then the adults come in, and that's a 2-hour class. So it was like 4 hours on the Tuesday, 4 on the Thursday, and then instructor's class on the Friday.
Wow. That's a lot of rolling, eh? And you were a teenager at that time?
Yeah, I was like 13, 14.
Wow. And why do you say you couldn't do any other sport? Did nothing else click or?
No. Look, my dad was exceptionally athletic. So good at rugby, good at running. Unfortunately, I didn't get that.
Mm.
So for rugby, just catching a ball, hand-eye coordination wasn't that good.
Mm.
I probably wasn't aggressive enough
Yeah.
because you get the ball. Oh crap! What do I do with it?
Yes.
You take it.
Yeah.
And yeah, cricket didn't really bounce with me either.
Mm.
So I was kind of forced into doing jiu-jitsu because I couldn't do anything else.
Mm.
And yeah, I came home and I cried because I was crap.
At
And
jiu-jitsu.
I was horrible at it.
Yeah.
And I think I only won my first fight after 7 years of doing it. Like in my
Really?
7th year, I won my first competition.
Wow.
Like in competition
Yes,
fight. Obviously,
yes.
like every now and then there's people you tap in class.
100%.
But-
But it doesn't count.
No,
you
no.
know.
So yeah, my first in-comp fight, and it was a 49-minute fight.
A 49-minute
Uh,
fight.
Super fight. It was an exhibition.
How old are you?
12 or 13, yeah.
You had a 49-minute bout at 12.
Yeah, it was either 49 or 39.
Dude, how?
It was a super fight, no time limit. My opponent's name was, his name was Charles Jacobs.
Right. Is he still
And
around? You know?
I
like,
actually
doing jiu-jitsu
saw him
or-
at Skull the other day.
Really?
Just randomly, Charles, and it's like, what the hell, man?
We had a 49-minute fight when we were 12.
Yeah, I basically won. I remember, but like his head was like here, and I just sat on it because we were just dead tired
Yes.
at that time. There was no energy left.
How do you do 49 minutes?
He just kept on going. I mean, a class is an hour, so
Yeah, but you don't go full on in a class. You know, in a class you got breaks or rounds or something. You know.
yeah. So yeah, there was no points or anything. So the fight had to end by submission, and both of us were really good at escaping submissions, especially the guy who tapped the most.
Yes.
Because I think I got good by learning how to stop tapping for things. I
Right.
got out of everything. I was like in a little escape artist.
Yeah.
My body was so flexible because I've been doing it for so long. I could noodle myself out of any situation.
Mm.
So any attack you threw at me, I could noodle myself out. And then in the end, we were just so tired,
Mm.
absolutely tired. And I think I just got him in like half a move and he tapped.
I'm sure by that time, just your mental fatigue and obviously physical
Yes.
fatigue, but just mentally, you're just fed up of just defending.
I remember the hall was packed. There was people all around us and there was like a conference. I was too young at the time to understand what was going on, but at that time, Kayu Kan was Ludwig's place, was shifting over and becoming Fighting Arts Institute.
Okay.
And I think that's where it happened. I think what was happening in the background is Mike Herbig. I don't know if you know that name from...
The name sounds familiar, but I don't know.
So he was also involved with Kaiokan back in those days. I
Mm-hmm.
think what happened then is that's where the split from Kaiokan went into Fighting Arts Institute and Combat Jiu-Jitsu Academy.
Okay, that's why the name sounds familiar.
Yeah.
CJA, yes. Okay.
So yeah,
Right.
he took a couple of students and I stayed with Ludwig.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to those guys, it's a whole different story.
Fortunately, I think
Yeah.
you stayed with Ludwig. Yeah.
I kept on seeing a lot of these guys who was always been my friends. So,
Yeah.
despite what anyone ever said about them or Mike, whatever, these people, the people I grew up with,
Right.
and they were my friends.
Mm.
Like everyone else at Jitsu is my friend,
Mm.
in my opinion, at least. If you're there, if you're accepted by the club, you're good for friend.
Mm. One of the things, because I remember like back in 2006, like just before 2010, there was a lot less, and I don't know if I'm remembering it, incorrectly, but there was a lot more of like inter-club mingling, and like you say now, if people did jits, you guys were just all friends kind of thing, which I feel's kind of gone to the wayside a little bit now. You can tell me if you see it differently. But I think back then there was a little bit more openness between clubs, I would say. Do you find that to be the same, or?
Yeah, I think back then, I had to go to Pretoria and Joburg and Eastern Cape and all these places to do the competitions.
Mm.
I had to go find competitions because Jiu-Jitsu just wasn't big enough to have even 4 competitions a year.
Mm.
So now and then we had Cape of Storms. I don't know if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Gas was a blessing. It was so intense. It was awesome. It was such a blessing to have that here
Yes.
and have everyone come to us. So I think right then it was, if there was something, we'd always all be there.
Mm.
And at the time, we were small.
Mm.
We were training out of Rico's garage at the time. So there was just a handful of us here and a handful there. So we all, I don't think there was enough people to have this group identity per
Right.
se.
Right.
And as soon as the classes started getting bigger, the attendances started growing, and the clubs started growing, and franchises came out. It's like you had this the team over there and the team over
Right.
there. So like I'd remember at Gas, for instance, we would all be there. Sometimes we would all have our shirts or whatever, and like a big swath of PFA fighters would come in. They would be all dressed in their hoodies and their jackets and look really, really sharp. And I'm like, okay, cool. That does look cool, but it also puts you aside from them.
Right.
Like, it comes up, so now, I had a Mr. Price rash vest and whatever pants I could put on that I don't mind tearing. And like, we didn't care about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it was to do with the sizes of the clubs back then. Now we're all big. I mean, Rick Harting's place is big. Rio Grappling is
Massive.
big. And it's probably the best thing that's happened to our club and the extension of all the other clubs. It has unified a lot of clubs in that sense. But unfortunately, the result is also you're going to have some splittage. The politics has always been something I've tried to avoid as much as possible.
It's better. Yeah.
That's how I could remain friends with people from CJA, despite any controversy, and how I could be friends with the guys from Gracie, and like, even if it's like a friendship rivalry, it's always been very welcoming. I'm very, very, very grateful for this whole community that's grown in Cape Town.
Yeah, it is a community. I mean, even if you have different gyms and things like that, I think everybody kind of bonds over one common goal and one common interest, and it really is a community. I mean, like, even just at reps, like, you got guys in the morning class, and then we go for coffee afterwards. You forget about your problems, and you're there to learn all the same, and then all have the same interest in jiu-jitsu. But a lot of these guys you say you competed against, I know you've had some crazy competition stories from when you were young, and you guys are talking about heel hooking each other and all sorts of things when you were younger than 10.
Yeah, man. We started doing heel hooks from, when we learned arm bars. There was no difference, because sure, yes, you can say heel hook is a very dangerous technique, and you can get life-threatening injuries. You were literally trying to break someone's arm. Like, any technique in jiu-jitsu can be life-threatening. It's always been the onus of you to put it on in a controlled fashion, and the opponent tapping in time. It's when you start resisting stuff. Why are you resisting that armbar? If it's on and you're resisting it, technically, you should be tapping already. Otherwise, I mean, if it's the world championship or whether you're going to perhaps see your arm break because of all the adrenaline and stuff, but you should just tap before you get hurt. So like...
the onus is on you as much to tap as it is the person applying the submission.
Correct. Well, at least in my belief. Ludwig Strijdom raised us from a very young age to, there was 4 rules, 5 if we were camping. Lesson number 1 was no hurting. And then he would go on to explain what that means. And it's no hurting yourself nor your opponent. And I've just carried through that my whole life. I never try to hurt anyone. I've never felt that aggressiveness, because maybe that's from a young age I've always been taught, no hurting. Number 2 was look and listen. Perhaps the hardest for attention deficient kid to do.
Yeah.
So I sat in the corner a lot. Like, did push-ups in the corner. That was me. 2 or 3 times a lesson probably. Number 3, always do your best. And number 4, no lying. And, that's actually quite important in jiu-jitsu. I mean, you tap, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
But you have to trust each other. There's no playing crying wolf in jiu-jitsu. I have to trust you as my friend not to break my arm when you're armbarring me or, ankle locking me. So we did all the submissions. We did, except for we didn't do cranks, because that's not
spinal manipulation or anything like that.
Well, it's not really a submission, is it? It's a submission is kind of like targeting a weak spot, and a crank is just, you're cranking someone's neck.
Right.
But if it hurts, you should tap nonetheless.
Yes.
As I have done in competitions.
The cranks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to have a broken neck, so
Right.
you will tap if it's necessary. I'm not gonna complain. Hey, he's cranking me. Unless it's explicitly illegal in the competition, he's breaking a rule. So I'm gonna say, hey, he's breaking a rule by cranking me.
Right.
But otherwise, I'm not complaining about it being a crank.
Right.
It hurts, therefore I tap.
Yes.
And I don't want to get hurt. But I have still gotten hurt a lot. And I've unfortunately hurt a lot of people. I'm sorry to everyone I've hurt in my life.
What
So
type of injuries and things like that? Was it all competition related, class
no,
related, or?
no, it's injuries from just sitting in class. For instance, doing stretches and stuff, and you weren't stretched enough, pop a knee. That's more when I got older, obviously.
Mm.
But throughout my life, it's knee injuries, hyperextension of both elbows, neck injuries. Vian Lesh, very proficient wrestler back in the
Yeah,
day.
beast.
Yeah, quite a beast. He used to
Yeah.
train with us as well.
Yes.
So when our club moved to Belleville, we had this nice big open wrestling area.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy did a suplex on me, and I landed so badly on my neck. I don't think I could straighten my neck for quite a while.
Jeez.
It was really bad. Running in a circle and stepping down wrong, screwing up my ankle for weeks.
Oh no.
Self injuries.
Yeah.
But yeah, competition injuries, hyperextensions. You get armbarred. I've seen my arm in a video go past like 30 degrees.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I saw the video.
What happened to you? What happened then? Did you pop something, or was it just
No, I
ligament
actually
damage?
I managed to get out.
No injury?
No, I had an injury.
Oh, okay.
I had tennis elbow
Okay.
for quite a while.
After 30-degree bend. Crazy.
30 degree, it could have been 15, and I'm doubling it in my mind.
Yeah.
I remember the fight though. It was against Anthony Shute,
Mm-hmm.
and I managed to escape the armbar, and I think I got him in a leg lock in the end, just like a straight leg lock or something.
Really? Straight from the armbar?
Yeah.
Or-
But after the armbar happened, there was another fight or something. I wrapped my arm because I wrapped both arms because I didn't want them to know which arm was
Oh, right.
which arm was the pup one. Because
Yes,
after
then they'll
that,
just target it.
I couldn't move it anymore.
Wow. And what happened in the second fight?
I think the armbar happened in the first round. In the second round, I must have rolled against Anthony Shute.
Hmm.
Yeah, man, these memories are all mished and mashed together. I don't even remember the name of the competition.
Because
It
you've
must
done
have-
a lot of competitions, I mean, over the years.
Yeah, so between age of 13 and age of 22, that was like where I did most of my competitions. And I would go to Joburg, PE, and all these places, sometimes flying, sometimes having a nice road trip.
Mm.
So in the beginning, it was just, Chris Bright's competitions. And
There was
Dave-
one in PE in 2008 that Carlson Gracie, I think it was Dave's competition.
Yeah,
2007 or 8, I think.
Dave Levy's competition.
Yeah.
He had a couple up there. I think I
Yes.
did one every year.
Yes.
That was-
I remember when Rico and his team came down. I remember that competition. It was 2000. I don't remember the year, but I remember you. I've told you I remember you and my friend rolled together. He doesn't do jiu-jitsu anymore, but I still remember because, Rico went up against Chris Bright. He went up against Dave Levy. I think you and Dave, you said, went up against each other as well, eh?
I've rolled against him more than twice, I think.
Yeah.
I've fought against him in competitions. I don't think I've ever rolled against him, like as a friendly match.
Yes.
Tough SOB, eh? Like really, like always super fit, always super tough.
Yeah.
Highly dedicated to the sport.
Yes.
And his competitions was always fun, always high intensity. I mean, I've had to fight Rico in his competitions.
Yeah.
And I fought Dave, like I said, at least once or twice. The one I'll never forget, he did a takedown on me. And as I landed on my back, my head had this little bit of a whiplash, hit the ground, and I could feel my breakfast coming up. And I was just holding on to it. Like I couldn't take it. And it was the banana I probably ate before the
Yeah.
match. And I was just, okay, I'm just going to hold this in. I don't care if he's got mount. I don't care if he's got side control or anything. I'm just holding this down. And eventually, like, I couldn't keep it in. He choked me. I tapped and I jumped up, ran to the bin, emptied my stomach contents.
Wow. Yeah, I remember that competition because I had done 2 or 3 months of jiu-jitsu, and back then you could do under 6 month.
Yes, they split it.
The split it, yeah. I don't know what happened to that, because that was nice. Because then if you
They started bringing in belts.
yeah, now it's just belts only, but back then you could do that under 6 months. So I think I did under 6 months, gi and no gi, and for some stupid reason decided I wanted to do the absolute as well.
Fun.
And then because I went into the
Fun.
absolute, I went up against Dave as well. It's probably like I knew him from class. He's my coach, so like I knew him from class. But obviously,
He was your coach.
he was my coach for 2 months back then.
Okay.
Yeah, so he lived around the corner from me because I lived in PE. So I actually, the first time I ever did jiu-jitsu, I had a friend at school with me. That's actually the friend you rolled against. And we were like messing around in class one day because our science teacher wasn't there. And he's like, "Do you want to grapple?" So I'm like, I don't know what that means, but let's just do it. So he starts like trying to wrestle me down to the ground. And I'm thinking like, what is this guy doing? So I'm like trying to like get him off me. And eventually, I don't know, he got me in an armbar or something like that. And he goes, "Yeah, like, you want to learn more about that? You want to learn about UFC and that kind of stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool. Like, I'm going to your house anyway. Like, might as well teach me." And we were rolling like in the Virgin Active, I think. And we were like just messing around. He was teaching me like guard and guard passing and takedowns and leg kicks and whatever. And then Chris Bright actually like saw us and asked, like, started talking to him. And then Chris Bright said to him, like, "I've got a school. Do you guys want to come train here? Like, I can teach you guys some good techniques and whatever." It's too far for me. So I asked Chris if he knew anybody in my area, and Dave was the guy that he knew in the area. And it was from Nogi to Gi. And it was fun. I really, really enjoyed it. But then I think I went to matric the next year, and I was just told myself I'm too busy to carry on, something like that. But I'd only rolled with him in class, and obviously he holds back because it's like you can't just go smashing everybody
as the coach does.
Exactly. So to this day, even now. So and then I felt for the first time like what 100% was. And I remember he just took me down, went to north south, choked me out. It was about 20 or 30 seconds. And like as I tapped, he like released the choke, but he stayed in the position and goes, "Sorry, Van, I've got to conserve my energy for Rico." And I'm like, okay, no, fair enough.
As one does.
Do that, So I can't imagine like going up against, you went up against your coach as well, Rico. So how was that? I mean, what did that feel like? What was the competition?
Well, I fought him in class and a lot. I mean, I was always there. It's been just the two of us quite a lot. We used to have the cage, like our mats and a cage and this big wrestling floor and some Aikido mats on the side as well. But we kind of stayed on our side in the cage. And then I remember like me and Rico would fight for like 45 minutes sparring in the cage. He'd obviously go light on me.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been probably like 16, 17 at the time, maybe a little older. So, but like that was fun. But in competitions, Rico obviously he's not going to lose to me.
Right.
So he would always give like way. I think there was one exhibition competition we did. I remember rolling with him, and I kind of get him in the armbar, and I think, yes, I'm gonna get him. Now, I know how this feels when your own student does this. Like I've kind of allowed this to happen. Now I have to get out of this. And Rico was powerful, and I was probably weighing 70, 80 at the time. I was a little bit skinnier than I am now. And I got him in that armbar. I thought, if the cameras are on me, I'm gonna get this, and I freaking pull that thing on, and it stops like there, dead, and he freaking curls my entire body back in on itself. And the fight was over 30 seconds after that. It went nice and chilled. And then he saw that danger. He's like, "I'm not going to allow this." And he took me out.
I can't imagine what it must be like to roll against that guy in his prime. Because like now, we obviously get to roll with him in class and stuff every now and then. And you can tell he's not even going probably not even 50%. But if you are underneath Rico, it's like nothing I've ever... So...
Pressure.
Like you and I, when you were still doing the classes, you and I would roll. And obviously you're also not going 100%. But I remember the first time rolling with you, two things stood out. The first thing was how heavy you felt. Like you and I weigh similar. We were about the same. And I just remember you got me in a side control, and I thought, okay, geez, this feels heavy. And then you mounted me, and then you grapevined and put chest pressure. And I thought, what the hell is this? And then, no disrespect, but when rolling with Rico, even at 30% or whatever he's going at, you cannot get up from underneath him. Like there's like I can't, but I mean like even just trying to wedge your arm underneath, it just feels like there's a 40-story building on top of you. So I could only imagine
and no space,
no space at all. And the moment you think you've got some sort of a movement, he just shuts it down straight away.
So despite Rico's size, he's also quite an intelligent fighter. So when we would roll in class, like say we would have a 5-minute or 10-minute roll, however we would be training, he'd catch on to what you were doing. So he'd catch me in the same armbar like 5 times in a row. And it would be up to me to figure out how the hell to get out of there. But he'd still catch me, and he'd set it up, and you'd see it coming. It's like almost like, stop this from happening, I dare you. There was a lot of that. like I said earlier, I'm a slippery fighter as well. So I learned how to, backdoor escape from the mount
Yes.
and slide in, slide out, because you can't throw him off you.
No.
Because he knows if I'm going to throw you that way, he's just going to base out.
Mm.
So you can't throw him off, but you can like fake that and kind of slide underneath. But you can only do it like once or twice.
Before he catches on.
He's going to catch on immediately and he's going to adapt. And that's also, I think that's falling back on our strong principles game when we were still training with Ludwig, because we were very much just in the movement and where your body weight is lying. And that's obviously carried on into our teaching now. You probably know the move, the Komodo dragon, that basically teaches you to pin your center, your core straight into your opponent's core, like pushing him into the mat. And you can't even do that to everyone. Like, I remember when Rico did that, the crushing thing, because you can take your weight, you should just base your elbows in your hands if you're fighting lighter opponents. But I don't think he was holding back a lot of the time, because I would get home and my ribs would hurt.
Yeah.
Like what do they call it? The intercostal muscles.
Yes. Yeah.
I would physically, like, it would hurt to breathe.
Yes.
And I think you get used to that. And, that allows you to fight him further. It takes resistance training like that. But he's always been a tough fight. I think I've only actually got him in class once. And you'll know that one.
Really?
I got him in a heel hook.
Nice.
In class, we were training at Voortrekker Road.
The one with the glass and all the...
Next to the stones.
Yes.
That was always an interesting spot.
Yes.
That was probably like where most of the magic happened. When we did our first fighters workouts. That's where we got my first black belt.
Oh, nice.
Under Rico.
Right. Okay.
Before we were, Rio grappling. Just like a leftover from my childhood grading. I never finished that before Ludwig left. And Rico came in, and Rico just graded me at one point. I think I was 14 or 15.
Is that when you got it the first time?
Yeah, I think it was after a competition where I kicked some real good ass in Bloemfontein. Really showed well, because we were training so unbelievably hard. We would train every single day of the week except like on a Sunday or something. It was ridiculous. After training, you get in your cold bath.
Yes.
So yeah, that's where I got my grade where I got the belt. And so I lost track before that.
Yeah, you were. You said at 15 you got it. You guys were training every single day.
Before that, training with Rico.
Yeah, before Ludwig left, you said.
Okay, before Ludwig left.
Yeah, and you got him in a heel hook, and
that's it.
Yes.
We were on the heel hook, so
Yes.
I remember that clearly.
Yes.
Reverse heel hook, not just the normal one. It's normal one. You start putting it on, and he started spinning, and I got my elbow like this way around, and I started lifting the ankle like this. I felt that tap, and without
you must
getting
have felt on top of the world. Eh?
Not for long, not for like
Yeah.
seconds, because immediately after that he started wrapping my leg with his arm, and I had the pin, I had the knee, I had the angle and everything, and he straightened out my body, and he didn't have control over the leg or anything. He just took it, and I swear I could feel my shin bend.
Yeah.
Tap.
Wow. Did you guys, because the second thing, so the first thing, like I said, that stood out about you, because like when you roll with higher belts, obviously everyone's technique is sound, they give very little away, there's very little space, but your pressure stood out. But then the second thing was your understanding of like pivots. So if somebody is like putting their weight on you a certain way, which way to spin and which axis and that, is that stuff you learned from Ludwig as well initially, or is that more from Rico? Because Rico's also good at that.
I think that skill was taught to us by what we called surfing.
Mm-hmm.
So we would surf on our opponent. So one guy would lie flat on his belly, and then he'd have to roll. And another guy climbs on top, and you have to keep spinning. And neither of you are allowed to stop.
Right.
You at the top aren't allowed to grab onto him, but you can touch the mat.
Okay.
So you had to spin not just in one axis or two. You have to keep spinning in 3 axes.
Yes.
And as kids, we could do that because we were, the power to weight ratio is a bit different. The guy at the bottom could stand up and you would still keep spinning and moving on him.
Wow.
Because we've been training that our whole lives. That is basically what we did in class. I think it's called going around the world. You've probably done that as well.
Yeah, we started doing that as well, yes.
Yeah, so that's just your basis. But if you speed that up, it just looks like you're spinning. So surfing was that, just moving on top of your opponent constantly. And I think most black belts or most higher belts also like learn the sensation anyway. it's kind of like, if you like, it's like echolocation for bats.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you feel your opponent's presence on you, and you know where his center of gravity is in relation to yours. And knowing those two things allow you to, as you say, to pivot. I don't think I've ever called it that. But just, move your weight ever so slightly to make a massive difference. Because there's a
Push
lot
and
of,
pull system, right?
yeah, push and pull. You give it a little, take a little. And like, I like baiting as well.
Yeah,
I
I
do an
know.
awful lot of that.
Yeah.
Just take the arm.
Yeah, I remember you told us that. Since you told us that, people stopped going for the arm because you would like bait it, be like the guy would like mount you and you would bait it, and then it'd be like, cool, I'm gonna try and get this Americana, and the next thing you're like on your back
By
in a
mount.
submission. Yeah, yeah.
That's from being lazy and unfit. That's just like, I've been armbarred so many times now. I know exactly how to twist my arm to not have that just little bit of sensation to get
To
you
just
going.
get the relief.
And then as he's putting all his effort in that, he's probably forgetting that his weight is off. And then I, pivot, push.
Did you have like a set plan of like, this is the style that you wanted to do when you rolled, or did it just come with time and develop itself?
I don't think I've ever had a specific style, but throughout my life, my style has changed from in the beginning being very, very reactive. Because I was fighting at 17 against adults, like 30 and older. So I had to deal with people that were very strong. And it's difficult to push a strong person, but it's easy for him to push you, and you're using that. So I had a very reactive fighting style. Unfortunately, that does put you in a disadvantage. You're down on the floor a lot. Your fitness would make up for it. And obviously, you'd be down on points. So if you didn't have the submission, you didn't get the fight. That changed into, I think, after that, I started to find myself a little bit more in Jiu Jitsu. Got a little better, got a little stronger, built some body weight. I did some gym work at the time when I was probably like prime fit, 19, 20, 21. My fighting style was way more aggressive. And after that, I cooled down again. I felt that the aggression I couldn't see the fight anymore.
Right. At what age was that about?
It's probably like 20, 21, yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't see the fight anymore. I'd go into a competition and I'd come out and my heart would be racing so much, and I know I wasn't breathing right. And I don't remember anything of the fight. So after I started realizing that, you watch the videos of your fights afterwards, it's like, what the hell am I doing? It's frustrating to see that. And having that, I just went back into, I'd rather roll a little slower, rather feel it more, rather control my breathing a little bit more. And then I started to have to adapt more because I wasn't training as much. So you're not as fit.
Right.
So now you have to come up
Be more efficient with your rolling.
Exactly.
Yeah. So is that so then that was a style switch then, obviously, that you had. Have you been doing the same sort of, because obviously, I mean, everything that, like, if I say now you're very calm on the mat, for example, it could, I mean, a lot of black belts, or most black belts, well, all black belts are calm actually on the mat. But is that more like the style that you've sort of evolved into since that time?
I think, you have your calm periods. As a black belt, you're calm because you also don't feel threatened.
Right.
Unless rolling another black belt, which you sometimes see some excellent sparks, or when the higher belts in the class go against each other, everybody sits back and watches because they've got some competition going.
Right. I can see how they really are, and they're really tested.
Yeah, when the hard edge really comes in.
Yes.
That's a whole different story. But when you're fighting someone else, it's not like you're resting. Maybe I would give something if I will let them know. Say I'm fighting a brand new student. Obviously, you're gonna coach them through the role, and as that gets your student becomes more and more proficient, you start adding more stuff. You give him less. You start taking away right. So coaching, I think almost exclusively coaching for a long time. I was teaching for 2 years at Takedown. That might have changed a lot about the way I coach before and after, but also the way I fight. Because students also fight you differently when you're a coach. You don't know that, but you hold back when you're fighting your coach. It's a mental block probably too. It's like you see those fake videos of the guy standing and just looks at the guy.
Right, yeah.
And he drops.
10-on-1, 200-0 Kung Fu masters on YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah.
Using their chi or
Yes,
ki or whatever.
yes.
yeah, obviously there's always a certain relationship between you and your students, but
Mm,
I've always kind of liked to break that. I've never been humiliated by tapping
mm,
from a student, because if I'm rolling against you and you get a really, really good armbar, you might benefit more from actually succeeding in getting that armbar
right.
than me just being like, boop, out.
Mm,
So maybe I will allow it to happen to a certain degree. It has to be, it has to be good.
mm,
I'm not going to give it for free.
right.
But afterwards, I'll be like, okay, cool. Let's do that again. I was like, okay, this is the escape.
Mm,
Like, at least, make me feel a little bit better. But like
yes.
when it's on, I'm not gonna injure myself just to,
Because
one
of an
up
ego.
someone.
Mm,
Sure, I'm your student, but we are still friends, and
mm,
the same rules apply. I would like you to tap for any of my submissions, so I will
mm.
tap to any of your submissions that are true.
Yep. 100%. And just getting back to the competing
Okay,
bit,
yes.
you did okay. I think I'm old. Yeah, we're the same. We're similar age, so old enough to remember competitions like you mentioned, gas.
Oh yeah.
Which is way different to what competitions are like now. I mean, there's stories of people. I mean, I think Hadmi's also got a story of rolling like 40, 45 minutes in one fight.
We
And
all have these gas stories, yeah.
yeah, and like 10, 12 opponents in one pool. Like, what are some of the craziest competitions you've had from gas? Because I know there are a lot. Like, everybody's got some crazy story.
So yeah, there was gas was a blessing for all of us. It was organized by Groundworks at the time, Groundworks Jiu Jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
Um, why can I not remember the coach's name right now? But they were practicing. They were doing a lot of 10th Planet stuff at the time. Always cool rolling with those guys too.
Mm.
Caleb Ridley.
I don't know.
I've seen his
I
name.
think Shaw told me the name the other day, but it slipped my mind completely now.
I remember he was fighting for them. They later became Leviathans then, I believe.
Yep.
Um, Anyway, that's beside the point. Gas. So back then they would say, okay, who wants to fight? And then take everyone's weights and then divide it in groups of 8. And in the beginning, there wasn't that many competitors. So there was like 3 or 4 groups maybe. And that would be the competition. And in your group of 8, you fight everyone. And then you build points by fighting everyone. There was no points, but submission. You'd have to get a submission.
And no time limits.
No, well, in the intermediate matches, your first 8 matches, your first 7 matches, there'd be a 10-minute time limit. And then for any of the medals, there were no time limits.
Jeez.
Like that resulted, I fought Wesley George. I fought him for 21 minutes.
In the finals.
Yeah, I think it was for gold or silver. Probably for gold, yeah.
Yeah.
No, in the end, I was just tired. I was finished, and he
Yeah.
got me in a triangle, I think.
Because you got 7 matches before that, or so what? 6 matches before
Yeah,
that.
7 matches.
Crazy, and then you still got to do 21 minutes. Oh well, that's you're fortunate it only lasted 21 minutes because some people have 50 minutes.
Yeah, some people like there was some super long fights, but I think there was a lot of excellent fights too. Like all the fights were like a spectacle to see because there's no searching for points. These guys are just going at it, trying to submit each other. There were a couple of injuries I remember, like an ankle here and an arm there. This guy got poked in the eye. Obviously tensions are high, but the standard was super high, and if you weren't fit, you just couldn't make it. I think one of my favorite gas competitions was, I have to try to remember, probably like 2007, 2008, around there. I got some videos. I'll show it to you. You can pull it up.
Yeah.
Fighting against Rico Hatting, Ruan Potts, Sean Voss. Back in the day, Sean Voss was actually still quite new, but he was also heavy. So we were all in that same category. I think that was Cardu Souza, another black belt. I'm probably mistaken, but I think Chris Bright was in there too.
Yeah.
There
In the
was
heavyweights.
Gideon Drotsky was in there.
Wow.
And 2 more. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And this was one of the toughest competitions I've ever been in. One of the ones I remember the best, and I don't even have a medal to show for it.
Really?
Yeah.
What happened in the? Did you?
So I remember some of them. Rico, I lost. I don't remember how. I don't know if he'd remember.
Mm.
Ruan Potts got me. I mean, he was a beast at the time. He went through this whole transformation. At the time, he was just huge.
Mm.
And like, again, like you got that crushing weight on top of you.
Yeah.
I just couldn't stop him. You know, when he takes your arm, he puts it there. It's really,
Right.
really, really hard.
Yeah.
Despite the technique difference, it's really hard
Just
to stop
kind of
that.
bulldozers through.
But it was still an intense fight. I think I beat Gideon.
Mm-hmm.
I lost against. I beat Sean at the time, and then there was a controversial fight. I beat Karu Souza because I got him in a leg lock, and they were saying I was reaping the knee. Problem was I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
Because we've been doing leg locks since the kid. If
You don't know the difference between doing it straight or reaping.
Yeah,
or...
well, it wasn't reaping. It was our technique. I would spin around and get this hooks in with my legs. It would be like a split-second move. If I'm in top guard, I could always hit it. And you'd get it and you'd fall in it and you'd fall in it being on. From then, it's just that little bit of control putting it on. I think you rolled, but I just rolled with and you tapped. And there was a whole thing about reaping the knee. Is it a win? Is it a nos?
So reaping wasn't allowed back then as well? Has it always not been allowed?
I can't remember when it started becoming a rule where it was or wasn't allowed. I mean, at gas, I think as well, if you can talk to your opponent beforehand, it's like,
do you want to do it or do you not want to do it?
Yeah, so we could do that.
Yeah.
With, I think I fought Armand. I don't know if you remember Armand.
Armand.
Yeah, sick leg locks.
From
Armand.
now, yeah, skipper.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
So he kicked my ass in one of these competitions. Again, beforehand, it's like, let's do heel hooks. Yeah, sure. I did not expect that
when he said that.
Yeah, this guy's been doing just leg locks, and obviously, I think I did a mount backdoor escape into leg locks, one of my signature moves, and obviously he knew that because I've done it to him in class so many times, and he pulled back on such a sick leg lock. I rolled, couldn't stop it, rolled the other way, couldn't stop it, couldn't get my leg out, got me.
Yeah.
You're a little bit humiliated, but it's good. You learn from that. Like, I need to work on my leg locks.
Did you feel humiliated because you knew the submission and you should have done better to get out of it, or was it something that you didn't know, or was it just that you lost and you didn't like it at the time, or?
It's always losing isn't a nice feeling.
Right.
It can be a good feeling, but not nice. You still feel like a little boy inside's crying a little bit because you lost the fight, especially against someone lower ranked than you, who's been training a lot less than you. But like, I've known Ahmad for a long time. We've trained together for a very long time. We've seen, I think, 3 different locations of reps at the time. Well, Rico Hutting's Mixed Martial Arts Academy.
Yes.
So like, we know each other. And at that point, I think he was splitting off training under Sean. And Sean was doing a lot of leg locks.
I've heard, yeah, the system, everybody's leg lock system comes from Sean.
Yes. This is when 10th Planet became a thing, and leg locks became like, got a little bit of spotlight.
Elevated up, yes.
You'll see through the years how the spotlight moves from one technique to the other.
Yeah.
Like, Berimbolo was a big thing at one point. Then we're all doing the, what's that new guard that Roberto was showing? Not a new guard, but...
It was De La Hiva.
Yeah. At one point, it was all about the De La Hiva.
Yeah.
And then 10th Planet came in and everything had these cool names. The zombie, the New York,
the weird
the
Eddie Bravo names. Yeah.
And with that came a lot of leg locks. And I've been coasting on my leg lock knowledge from over the years. I didn't really upgrade it or adapt it. I just used that. But there's been so many new things discovered.
Yeah, all these weird entries and like
blocks and kicks, and I just didn't expect it to be that clean, that good.
Yes.
So kudos. That was a great submission.
And what do you? I mean, because since I started doing jiu-jitsu again, the first competition I think was in November 2021. It was one of the AJP competitions. Like, is the format's changed obviously to what you were talking about with gas now, so with the brackets and things like that. What do you think of the current format of competition? Do you think it's the best way forward? Thinking back, or would you prefer it to be more like a gas where everybody goes against each other and it's a little bit longer format? I understand now it's bigger, so you have to kind of trim it down a little bit, so I can understand brackets and time limits and things like that.
And health and safety.
Yeah, okay.
Safety is a big factor. When you have so many people, there's a lot more injuries.
Right. A lot more stress on the body, a lot more strain.
So
in
it
each
makes
fight.
sense that there are illegal techniques and stuff because, you know, a leg lock can go awry like that. I know guys who still have broken knees from back in the day. But I also know guys with broken arms from back in the day.
Right.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of damage and we walk on our legs and feet. So it makes sense that they make some moves illegal. I'm not against it. But I think there's still room for what was as well. So why can't we have both?
Right. So like a perfect combination of the two.
Like we can still have a gas. It's just one day, and it's just, you know, it can be like unanimous at a competition. I was in one of those as well, where it's a bracket of like 8 to 10 people. If it's just that bracket and there's maybe only 3 or 4 of those, you can still have a one day event. Everyone fights everyone. And the crowds do love it. It's always been very cool.
True. But I mean, I guess there are other competitions as well. I mean, there's the Submission Kings as well, which kind of, they do brackets, especially with the super fights. They do the brackets, but it's submission only format. 8 minutes, I think it is, when they do the super fight brackets. So it's an 8-man tournament for the main show. Then they've got other fights on the card, but that one, I think. They've got one coming up in March, I think. But that kind of combines, so it's high level people, so heel hooks and all that, all of those techniques go.
They tend to still allowed for the brown and black belts.
But however, there's some of the guys are blue belts that are competing in those competitions. So, but at least, like you say beforehand, you guys always used to go say, heel hooks allowed, yes or no? You know, that kind of thing. So at least you know it's coming. You're not sitting there thinking, I've never done heel hooks before, and now all of a sudden I'm getting hit on one.
Well, it wasn't just that. It's also, hey, my arm's kind of busted, but I still really want to fight. Mind not armbarring me, or if you do armbar me here, I will tap you immediately.
Yes.
And then, I'll just be like, I'm not going to take it unless I have to. And it has happened that I've had to. It's a weakness, obviously, and it's there's no rule against it.
Right.
But you can. I've always had, like, if you speak to someone before a fight, you can set a little personal rule. It's fine. But yeah, I'm glad we're getting blue belts, at least experiencing what the higher belts are doing. Because they used to be never that divide. We all did everything together. There wasn't even a beginner and advanced class, so everyone had to learn everything. You'd have your advanced students helping your beginners. But I wish I can't say that. The amount of competitions now is it's like almost a dream. If only I could be 18 again now, and there'd be a fight every other weekend. It's like, it's a little unfair.
Yeah, it just happens. It's like any progression of any sport. It's.
I'm glad it's here. I'm very glad it's here.
Yeah, it's good for the sport to grow, because I mean, like back in when you were younger and stuff, to see a black belt, to see a Brazilian, to see a brown belt was like unheard of.
Yeah, there wasn't any.
Yeah, now we had at the grading at Rio, we had 15 alone just at one grading. So it's definitely, there's more opportunities, more people get better. There are more people doing it, obviously. So people right now that are doing competitions in 10 or 20 years time or 15 years time are going to be saying, I wish it was like that when we were doing it. So it's unfortunate. It's just one of those things, Just getting back to, I want to just go through just to the belts, back to belts. So when did you get graded to your black belt?
Like I said, I now have my technically second black belt.
Yes.
But the first one I got, and we weren't fighting at belt, so I took that belt still in its rekkie, and just kept it.
Okay.
Because actually, I think as a joke, I gave it to Rico when he got his black belt from Roberto.
Yes.
Just like, you can have it back.
Yeah.
Which I didn't do that. It was a nice belt.
Yeah.
Because eventually I got a belt, my actual black belt grade, and I could have used that.
When was that? When did you get it?
I'm trying to remember now. I was probably 14 or 15 years old at the time. Like I said, we were training at Stones.
No, I mean the one with the one from Roberto, the second time.
So I'm trying to remember when Roberto came in. I could probably research this.
2009, I think he started Rio. Yeah, he said.
Okay, then I was about, say, 18 or 19. 2009, I was 19, and he came in, and he obviously I couldn't roll him in the beginning. But obviously he couldn't give me a white belt. In fact, at that point, belts were starting to come in. I would fight in the One Cape of Storms competition in the Belleville Velodrome.
Yeah.
And I would go in and they asked me what belt I was. I'm like, I'm ungraded. It's like white belt. And you get to the map and they call out the white belts.
Yeah, and you smoke them.
The ref comes up. It's like, what's this guy doing here? Because obviously I know the ref from fucking way back.
Yeah.
It's like, he's not a white belt. I'm like, that's what I said. So they'll just throw me in with the rest. So when I started with the belt system, I got my purple straight away. Obviously, I had no gi experience. So a white belt in gi would cross choke me. You know,
Right. Yeah.
I've never seen that before. But you know, you learn really quickly. Later on, I really started to enjoy the gi. There's so much more for manipulating stuff. But before that, we were entirely no gi, mostly MMA.
Right. Was obviously there's transferable skills from no gi to gi, but was the biggest thing just people being able to grip you where you could move before, now all of a sudden that's stopped because of the grips and then the chokes, obviously.
Yeah. So coming from a completely like flexible, like really swirly, noodly fighting style, going into gi was just like walking into a solid wall. I could find you can't move anymore. You can't do these crazy moves. I didn't know, but of course you can do those crazy moves. I just didn't know how to do it with the gi. And the gi presented something that the no gi didn't have, and that's leverage. So much more leverage. Being able to use things like torque more. Like say someone is on top of you, you can completely reach around, grab a spot on the far side, and you can generate a lot of torque to throw him off you. You can't do that in no gi. Maybe if you grab his put on his back.
Yeah.
But, you know,
you've got a cup instead of actually grabbing something.
There's nothing to hold on. And getting wrapped up in the beginning was so strange. My first competition, when someone wrapped me up, I'm like, what the hell is happening? Is this legal? Like, yeah, fine. Try doing something. I just get stuck. It was interesting in the beginning. And later on, it started becoming easier almost to fight in a gi. Like it requires less energy because you know all these leverage points. So there's a little trick, or you can just grab his foot there and pull, and then he'll fall.
How long did it take you to like make the adjustment to be more comfortable in the gi?
I think it probably like 2 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, by then I got my brown belt, and then soon after I got my black. I didn't really have the stripes. It's just like I had to catch up on all of this gi work that I didn't know. Once I got into that, once it started to grab hold of me, I quickly progressed through that.
Okay. So you got your black belt then in 2014, 15?
I think it's 2014, yeah.
Right. Wow. So you've been a black belt now for 9 years?
I think so.
Pretty much, eh? Yeah. Wow. And then you were coaching obviously a lot, and then so like I know you as a coach, so then you've been coaching up until that point, and then coaching all the time since.
I've been coaching since I was like 12 actually. So Ludwig Strydom had an instructor's course that we as kids could take. Very strict, 100% or you don't pass kind of thing. But you could, like, you'd have modules and stuff. He would teach us how to do mind maps, to memorize all this stuff. That's actually how I learned to learn.
Yeah.
It's not from school, it's from Ludwig. I learned mind maps, and I still use them to the day.
Yeah. Very powerful.
Now I do it on my phone, Me Maps. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah.
Very powerful tool. So yeah, we did these instructors courses, and they teach you everything about how to teach. Stuff that I explicitly remember was like, never say, no, you can't do it. Always say, you can't do it yet. Like, how to inspire your students. It was a legitimate instructor's course. How teaching works as well. And went in quite deep. There were multiple courses, and I went through almost all of them. Because, I think those was on Fridays. We did that at the Virgin Active in N1 City.
Yes, yeah, that's where Rico met Ludwig, he said. Yeah. So where is Ludwig now? What's his...
He's in George.
When did he move out of Cape Town?
So, exactly, I don't know. Ludwig, when I was like 13, 14, Ludwig, I think he had a stroke before that as well.
Wow.
But he got hit really hard. And when he came back, everything was different. He could barely speak. Little did I know, like this guy basically taught himself how to walk again.
You have to.
Yeah. But me and Charles, my cousin at the time, we've been training with him since we were kids, almost toddlers. So we knew him intuitively, and we could understand just motions. He would just motion to things in the class, and we could teach the class. So, yeah, just having all that experience with him. And he left, I don't know what point he left. I was probably like 16 or 17 when Rico came in. I got my dates so wrong, man. Gonna edit all that. No, 16, 17 when he left, and Rico came in. It was a very smooth transition. We would coach to our classes was in Monte Vista at the time, Monte Vista Primary School, and Rico started to come in more, and eventually the whole switch happened. Ludwig left. He went to George, and Rico did his. He took out everything, down to the mats.
Yes.
Down to the last mat. Yeah.
Have you had much contact with Ludwig since, or?
I went to visit him last year. I came back from the UK. I was in the UK for like 2 months last year, just like the first 2 months of the year, after the heart attack.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can talk about that a little later.
For sure.
He moved to George. So I visited him when my wife and daughter were still in the UK together. So I came back. My daughter stayed behind, and then she had to come back when her visa expired. So it was like a brief period, month, maybe 2 months, where I was man alone at home for the first time ever in years.
It's tough, eh?
So I managed to get a little bit of jiu-jitsu in that time. Probably the last time you probably saw me in class or properly rolling or whatever.
It was actually that night that it happened. Yeah, that was the last time.
Oh yeah, you saw
I haven't
me.
been back. Yeah, I saw you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
you were there.
I remember that.
Oh, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
So yeah, I went to go visit Ludwig all by my lonesome and took a nice long drive to George. And there was some stuff I wanted to talk to him about, but really it wasn't like I'm going there to visit my coach. It was more like I'm going there to visit like family almost. Obviously I was great friends with his daughters. Only the one is there, the other one is married, he's got a kid now. So Nicole was there and his wife was there, and I mean it was just spending time with them. We didn't do anything amazing. We had some whiskey together. We spent some time on the mat where he was teaching me his new stuff. It's still, everything is still motion. Everything is still moveolution.
Yeah.
And his whole thing is, it's been taken in a whole new direction as well. Very interesting also. He's working on like how to denote movements and positions on the mat. How to write that, like a language for our sport basically, for movement. I would slaughter it if I tried to explain any of that right now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
essentially a syllabus, right? And then just the way to articulate it, and then into syllabus as well. Or
trying to make it into like a syllabus or an app, or even it's like, how do you teach a movement? How do you explain guard position? But he's trying to work on a way to notate that in how can you write the guard position, like in coding for jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
Basically. So like you can teach with that. You can remember techniques like that.
Wow, that'd be nice to see.
He tried to explain. I understood some of it, but honestly, a lot of it went over my head. But it was all very interesting and also very humbling, because now he's always been my coach and he can see exactly what I'm doing wrong.
Right.
All the time.
Yes.
So he would tell me, you're breathing wrong. Just, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, so one of the guys at the gym, Chris, is always talking about, if I ever talk about like someone's, like Rico was showing us this one thing where he basically like, we're from side control. It's hard. It's gonna be hard to explain it because I have to kind of show it to you. But he's got his back to you, and then he's basing on his hand and his knee, and then he flips around into mount, and it's all the like, I call it the flippy shit. You know, like where you're like flipping around, and like a big dude's not supposed to do that. But Chris always says to me that stuff is exactly how Ludwig used to teach. So it would be very interesting to have a syllabus and, you know, get into like his teachings, because you can see, like Chris saying, you can see a lot of that in Rico, like in your teachings and things like that. So it'd be really nice to see it as well from the source.
So the reason I actually went to go visit him was in order for me to, I was actually working on before the heart attack happened, I was working on a seminar, Roll Your Own. Yes. Everybody was looking forward to that. And then it didn't happen. So before I go, actually, I'm going to try to revive it.
Please.
Do two or three classes.
Yeah.
Where I was going to take that knowledge from Ludwig, and I would joke and say, I want to take from what BoxFit has done for boxing, like non-contact boxing. I want to do that for jiu-jitsu, being focused exclusively on the movements. There can be some couples exercises where you partner up, but I want to focus solely on moving yourself and learning your own body weight before even trying to manipulate someone else's body weight. Use that, my seminar, as kind of a launching pad for this. And when I go to UK, maybe I'll start a class.
I think you should
work my way up to proper teaching actual jiu-jitsu as well. I just figure I can get a bigger audience. I can train a 12-year-old and a 60-year-old in the same class.
right. Yeah.
Maybe call it roll fit or something.
Yeah, I think you should. I like your teaching style. I think you got a very good teaching style. It's easy to learn. You always give a lot of options, and like you said earlier, I mean, it's one of the things you're taught is not to say no. And it's not necessarily not right now, but it's also like, even like sometimes I probably said the stupidest stuff to you back when I started again, and you would always be like, yeah, maybe that could work. Let's try it. And it's like, it's never like, oh no, that's dumb. Don't even say that. So you got a very good teaching style, and I think
Thank you.
you've also got very different movements as well. So I think you would be really, really good at it. So I think please do that, and please do the roll your own seminar before you go. I'm not the only one looking forward to it. A lot of people are looking forward to it. So please do it. And so obviously it was 2021, right? Was it last year?
It was a Wednesday night.
Yeah, it was after class.
25th November, 2021. Yeah.
Jeez, yeah, 25th November 2021. I still remember we had rolled. We'd done an extra half an hour, I think, in that class, and then
You're locking up.
you were locking up, and you had felt a pain in your chest.
Yeah, I felt like my whole body, upper body, was on fire. The problem was that's been the third time that's happened.
In quick succession.
Yeah, so the first one happened, it was after class, probably also a Thursday night, maybe like 2 weeks before that, maybe even more, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks. Had a particularly intense class, and I came home, and after my shower, I started feeling like, it's almost like you've been doing bench presses.
Yeah.
Like your entire upper body is
Is it
on
like
fire.
a numbness?
It's like a burn. It was an absolute burn, and my heart was racing, and I was sweating bullets, and I couldn't sleep. I lied on the couch. I tried everything. I tried painkillers. I tried alcohol. I tried a bit of weed. I tried everything, and this pain wouldn't go away. And that night I didn't sleep. Next morning, first thing, I went to the doctor. They did an EKG. They did all these tests, and eventually they just said, no, it's inflammation. And I got some anti-inflammatories.
Sorry, was it a normal ECG or was it a stress ECG?
I don't know.
Just did they just hook you up and you sat and they gave you the readings?
So there's I was going to say cross-pollination. So there was some other things that happened that almost made it seem like it could be inflammation, because just the day before I was carrying my daughter on my hip while I was cooking, and I had her there for so long I could feel the pain. So I had some DOMS from that.
Okay.
So I assumed what I was experiencing was probably some intense form of DOMS. Never did I ever imagine it could be a heart attack. So obviously the doctor probably thought the same. I'm not going to name him, unfortunately. And so it happened again when I was doing a seminar in Langebaan, maybe a week or two after that. And the new Langebaan, they were like almost brand new at the time. And I came and gave a seminar. It was very nice. I was going to do more in the future. And I did 2 private classes. And during the second private class, I started feeling that same chest pain again. I soldiered through the inflammation and drove home, just spent the Saturday on the couch, just like cooling off. I had a cold shower and everything, but the pain was just immense. And by that time, it had spread to my back as well.
Did you think it was the same thing? Had you recognized this pain?
It was exactly the same.
Right.
It was exactly the same. That's why on that fateful Wednesday night, we were locking up, and I was complaining, man, my chest is on fire.
Yeah.
Went home. I didn't sleep a wink that night. And next morning, before I even went to work, I was like first person at the doctor's office. I was there, just waiting for it to open, basically. And they went in, they took my blood, like a rapid blood test, and they sent it away. 4 hours later, almost to the minute, I got a call from the doctor saying, I think I was driving at the time. He said, you are going to go home now. You're going to get your pajamas and your stuff, and you're going to go to Durbanville Mediclinic. Tomorrow you're getting operated.
Wow.
And it was like that. And I went, and they did the scans and stuff. And when they did the angio. I was overnight in Durbanville Medical Clinic.
Mm-hmm.
They monitored me constantly, and then the next day I was meant to have the surgery. It was a little bit delayed, and it was Black Friday as well. They drove me, I think, in 13 minutes from Durbanville to Panorama.
Wow.
I don't know how they did it. I was in the back of the ambulance, it was just shaking.
Yeah.
Having a good laugh with the ambulance guy in the back, funny guy.
Yeah.
I remember always being high spirits during the entire thing because I knew it was happening and there was no point in being sad about it.
Right.
It was very sad for everyone, obviously knowing that this had happened, that I've had this third heart attack now. So guys, that's what a heart attack feels like. It could just be pain. It could feel like inflammation.
Because I've heard it's like different people describe different things, and some people say it's like a very intense pain, and it's almost the same as what you're describing, but also different at the same time.
And a pain in your arm too.
Yeah,
like
so
pain in your arm.
The moment you said you've got pain on your left chest, I asked you which side. Remember? I don't know if you remember, and you said left side, and I was like, oh shit, and then you said and right side. I was like, dude, you've got to you've got to see a doctor. And you said you'd seen a doctor, but I was like, I don't know much about heart stuff, but the little I know is like there's a couple of tests that you need to do to go have a look at, and
they test for a specific enzyme.
Yes,
I cannot remember what that's called.
I think they also test for, I could be wrong, I could be butchering this, but potassium, I think as well. If you got a high potassium count as well, do you know what did they test for you for the enzyme? Is that what they tested in the blood work?
Yeah, that's what they got from the blood work.
Right, and that was sky high, so they said, okay, let's go do scan and...
Yeah, you're going to go get your angiogram and get it done. I didn't know what an angiogram was.
Until they
did it.
Yeah.
And Joe, what an experience, eh? So yeah, I've got 2 little holes here next to my crotch. They enter all the way up, and then they found my entire main coronary artery on this side was completely blocked, 100% blocked. Well, not 100%. I was still getting spits of blood. And that heart attack was just my heart just needing oxygen because now we were training quite hard.
Yes.
And my muscles needed blood, but my heart couldn't get it. It couldn't get there. So I was like burning up. Maybe that was like, I'm imagining it, blood pooling in my muscles at the point.
Yeah.
And yeah, they checked it out, and I think the doctor pushed through 4 bars of pressure or something to get clear it out. The way he explained it was
like that, right? Like it looks like but on the other side, that block.
Yeah, so yeah, on the one side you can see the blood comes, and now remember that's not actually blood. That's a dye that they put in your blood. That dye actually, if they put a lot in it, can make you sick and does make you pee. Because ironically, the holding in a pee was way more painful than having the angiogram.
Yes.
Yeah, because you can't feel anything. Obviously, they numb it. But yeah, you can see the blood comes and it's finished. There's nothing. Your body's like begging for it.
So had you had any indication before those 3 heart attacks at all?
Never ever.
Really?
And
just
it's not like
sprung out of nowhere.
It's not like it's in my family either as well. My grandfather did die, of a heart attack or heart complications, but he had all his arteries were calcified basically. Mine wasn't anything like that, and the way it was explained to me, it was my arteries literally fold into itself. So maybe it was damaged, and when the blood comes in, that pulls in the cell walls of your artery. I can be lying completely here, but this is how it was explained and how I understood it. So yeah, they had to clear that out, put in 2 stents, and basically result is I now have scarring on my heart on this chamber, and I don't know if it's the left chamber or the right chamber, if it depends on which way the doctor is looking. Stage left.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm gonna make myself look stupid if I even venture to guess.
So yeah, it's on my left. It's the chamber struggles to suck in.
Okay.
So I'm down to like 30-40% functionality.
Really?
And on the drawing in of blood and oxygen.
And things like, are there any other markers like blood pressure or anything like that? Was blood pressure normal or high or low?
After the operation? Before that, I've never had high blood pressure, low blood pressure. Never had an issue, any of those things. I've always been, even though I was unfit at some of the times, I was always slightly above average on all my tests when I went to check up with the doctor. Ironically, I had a full medical done when I was 30. You know, when you, as you do,
Yep.
you have all systems checked. That wasn't picked up at all.
Wow.
So, yeah, I would suggest they should probably start testing for that specific enzyme. It's scary. So after it, first thing that happened was I became quite depressed.
Right, I can imagine.
But I had researched this beforehand. Depression is almost guaranteed after heart surgery. Almost like your heart's broken.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hit this very low. It's like I'm tired all the time. Walking up the stairs at home was like a labor. I had to do it slowly. At the time, I was going to be MC at my cousin's wedding. I cancelled that last minute because I just didn't have that confidence.
Yep.
You know, before that, I was strong, fit, black belt. You know, you've got that. It's an inherent confidence, whether you like it or not, and almost like I've been
Emasculated.
demasculated. It took some time getting over that. Went to UK for 2 months then. Did nothing. Sat on the couch. I fell in love with eating chips.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why. I shouldn't have done it
I'm
because it's
still
high
in love
cholesterol.
with eating chips, so don't worry then.
No, I'm completely off it, thank goodness. But I'm going back, so hopefully the UK chips aren't so good this time.
Yes.
Change my diet a little bit. Low cholesterol foods. So yeah, it took a while to get over that slump, and then you find yourself again. It's like there's more to me than just my belt, my this or that, or just having this heart attack. There's more to me than that. There's more to life than that. I'm also blessed by having a beautiful daughter through all of this, and an excellent supportive family. Like my family was there. I mean, they moved house while I was in the hospital.
Wow.
We were still moving in a house. We rented it out. We moved out. They did that all without me, and it just happened like that. And yeah, man, I was just like everybody contacted me. I was in the hospital. Rico phoned. Ludwig phoned. Everyone in class phoned.
Yeah.
My phone was like I was lying there in the bed, and it was just constant activity. You feel love during that time. So sure, I was sad, but also life changed for me. Personally, I think I've become a little slower, or at least learned to take things slower. Because literally, I can't walk fast. If I had to walk 2 kilometers now, like really at the pace I used to, we tall people, we walk at a certain pace. I couldn't keep that up anymore. I have to stop and be like, jeez.
Are you allowed to do any sort of like you were saying, some things you weren't allowed to do, like high elevated. You can't have a high elevated heart rate, right?
My heart rate I can bring up to between 120 and 140.
Okay, that's
well, we did a ECG today, and we pushed that all the way up to 170. So yeah, I've actually saw the doctor today. I'll get back to that. I'm not allowed to do anything anaerobic, really, like intensely anaerobic. So jiu-jitsu, but I can still roll, which is why I want to do this roll your own thing.
Yes.
And the roll fit, because I want to try to make jiu-jitsu aerobic, which is, it's not, you just be like, we fight and we push it. And it's, you go chill and you push it, you explode. I've always fought with that intense explosions. That's when you get someone, that's when he doesn't expect something.
Yes.
It's, it also never been, I've never been able to like give it, like I've seen guys that come in and they fight full out. It's a 5-minute round and they fight full out, full energy. It's like
Jealous.
Being assaulted by that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, where does all this energy come from? I've only had it for a brief period in my life. So yeah, like my fighting style has been chill, explode. Or it's just constant push.
Yes.
So
that's changed.
And unfortunately, I can't go and roll now. Say, roll with you on the mat and say we're going to take it slow, because I'm going to get excited.
And competitive.
And it's...
not competitive against me, though, but against someone
don't discredit yourself. It's... Even if I'm going to take it slow and chilled, and you're going to take it slow and chilled, I'm still going to get excited. And my body is still going to want to do what it's always done. I'm still going to try to bridge you off me or something crazy. And right there, I don't know. I'm imagining like this blood clot running.
Yeah.
It's running. Doop, you're screwed.
Mm.
It's just in my mind whether this is a physical blocker now or not.
Right. Right.
The real challenge is actually doing the cardio,
Mm.
because in 27 years of jiu-jitsu, we never really did cardio.
Mm.
It's the running in circles in front before
Yes.
the class. And sometimes during drills and stuff, I can imagine if you're doing a lot of pummeling drills, that really gets you going.
Mm.
Um,
What's
but-
up? Do you have to do steady state now, or?
so I have to, like I said, I know nothing about cardio. That's my problem. I had no experience in this. I never ran. I never jogged, never had a bicycle or was much of a walk or anything.
Mm.
I was happy that I found my sport that I can do,
That you enjoy doing. It's not a burden to do that.
Yes, and it's on a small space, and I'm not going anywhere. In fact, I'm sitting off of the time. It's a real lazy kid
Or
sport.
lying down.
Or lying down. Yeah, you can just lie down if you want to.
Yeah.
Or lie on top if you want to. So I was lucky I found the sport, but also perhaps that's why I had the heart attack, because there's no clear reason why it happened.
Mm.
Perhaps it's because I didn't train my heart enough. I pushed it beyond what it could handle, and I didn't try to bring out my, you're supposed to do a lot of aerobic exercises.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Mm.
Supposed to do a lot of aerobic exercises. So that's probably where I went wrong.
Yeah. I think you saw the same doctor as Rico did, I think.
Yes.
And Rico was explaining to me that the doctor was explaining to him, it's like your peak, you've got a peak of a triangle, and then you've got the base of the triangle, and you can't go as high a peak, so for your like high intensity cardio, without having that base, which is where the long steady state comes from. I don't know if that was explained to you, or
Yeah,
but
pretty much the similar.
that was kind of like, I remembered that. So especially when you're training, like if you're doing MMA or anything high intensity, you're always going for that. It's for that peak, but you're never getting the steady state bit of it. And your heart, I think, as far as I understood, needs both.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why, in competitions and stuff beforehand, I saw people jog to warm up and stuff. I'm like, I'm not going to jog. You're crazy. And now it's like, I have to jog.
Yes.
So I'm really, really struggling. I've gotten by walking a little bit, but honestly, that's been harder than the hardest jiu-jitsu fight ever, is having to do this cardio. This thing that's been, I've pushed away for so long, and I've neglected it. And that's been probably to my detriment. So let that be a lesson to everyone else, I suppose.
Yeah.
Do your cardio, do your aerobic exercises, and don't just go to gym and do weights.
Yeah, that's what I did for the longest time. I'm also trying to run now, but it's so boring. It's just, but these watches, man, like Garmin watches, for example, like if you want to go do a 5K, you've got Garmin Coach.
Okay.
So you takes all the thinking out of it. You just get told on this day you've got to run. This is how you've got to run. This is how long. Here it's high intent. Here it's like push yourself a bit. Here you can go walk or slow jog. So it makes it a little bit more fun. But to be honest with you, it's also like, if you do any, like you say, jiu-jitsu or any type of weight training, any of that kind of stuff, like cardio is just like, some people consider anything over 15 reps cardio. So it's like, we don't ever get to do it, So, but it is important. And I think now, again, I might be wrong. So if there's any doctors watching this, please let me know, actually.
Shout at us.
But, they always say, Vim said, what you do between 30 and 40. And another friend of mine that's a doctor as well said, a lot of people, what happens to them in their 60s, they could be doing the right things in their 60s, but what they did in their 30s to 40s, 30 to 40 actually, affects them more than what they're doing in their 60s when they are in their 60s. So if you're doing the wrong stuff, let's say now, you could be going and doing marathons or whatever in your 60s. It's not to say, okay, you're going to have effects just because of what you did when you were younger. But just because you're doing the right stuff in your 60s and you've done the wrong things in your 30s, so what I'm trying to say, it can still affect you years later, like 20, 30 years later.
Don't you start to die after like 25 or something? You start to slowly die.
I don't
And
know. But it depends what your definition of death is, because a lot of people, that.
You stop growing.
Yeah,
thing.
your brain apparently stops developing after 25. So, supposedly, again, I don't know. You're asking me stuff here I'm going to look stupid by.
So I'm just speculating. So after a certain period of time, say after 30 now, when you get injured now, you're not going to heal as quick as we were then.
No, okay, yeah, for sure.
And that will
yes.
carry on. And even if you do heal, you'll carry the scars for those injuries much longer.
Yep, it's
Jeez,
possible.
I remember never getting bruised.
Yes.
Never. Like, I've never had bruises.
Right.
Because my body's just kept on getting knocks and stuff. Man, I can stand up now, my back would be sore.
Yeah.
Or, if you've been sitting for too long, it's hard to stand up. It doesn't have to be.
You're older than you're older than 30 when you make a noise, when you do anything and you make a noise, like standing up, getting up. So no, most definitely. But you're going forward now, so what is the advice? Obviously, like the doctor, you went to go see doctor again today. What is the advice that they've given you, just sort of lifestyle wise, training wise, and that kind of thing? What, if anybody is watching and wanting to do the right things for their heart health, what would you say would be the right things, or what's the advice the doctor gave you?
So it's funny, the advice he gave me is stuff that you guys already know. It's eat low cholesterol foods, and what he said was not try to be healthy, just live healthy. That's all you need to do. And that you can't say this is exactly what you have to eat, because everyone's going to be different. So his advice was just live healthy and do your cardio. Go out, start by walking. Take the dog for a walk, and if you feel you get tired, don't stop, just slow down. Get a good watch. I'm so analog. I should really get myself a proper one.
Yeah.
But yeah, get a watch or a chest band. Or you get these things are talking.
Yeah, yes.
Everything's talking to
and
each
your
other
phone
now.
as well. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm imagining getting my dog, putting my ear things in, and listening to a podcast, some kind of podcast when I'm on there, and start by that, and then work your way up to slow jogging, and sooner or later you can get to that point where you can push your heart past 40 or 60. But for now, I'm limited to the 20-40 range for what do you call it? Sustained.
Sustained amount of time.
Yeah, so that would be my advice. Stay from the chips, the yummy potatoes.
Yeah.
Drink whiskey.
Yeah.
Advice from a doctor: drink whiskey.
Is that a real thing? Because they've debunked the wine thing now for general health, but whiskey, is that still?
I've been told if I'm gonna drink whiskey.
Okay.
So maybe it's just the lesser of the lesser
Two
evil.
evils, yeah.
Because I do enjoy my beer, as we do, but I've had to learn. I've actually always liked whiskey, but I have to learn to drink it as much as I do now, or maybe even dilute it.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love a good Bushmills. My Irish is my king.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm feeling like one right now.
Yeah. By the time we get home, you'll get one.
So you need to thin out the blood.
Yes.
And
right.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Sorry, the other thing no one ever realizes, when you do have heart attacks like this, you have to take medicine for it. So now blood thinners and stuff.
Right.
If I get a cut now, it'll bleed a lot. Even a tiny cut bleeds a lot, and it takes a while to stop, because your blood's just thinner. It's like cutting into a drunk person.
Yes.
And also getting lightheaded. Never been lightheaded before, really. Now when that feeling when you've been driving for a while and you get out of your car and you just have to hold on to your roof for a second, because
yeah, really bad.
That's happened a lot. Luckily, it doesn't happen while you're doing something. It happens when you shift, when you
activities.
Blood's pooled everywhere, and then you get up, and it takes a while for it to get back where it's supposed to be.
And that's because of the blood thinners.
I'm assuming it's that, or it could just be I'm not taking in enough blood, or blood quick enough, or my blood's not carrying enough oxygen at the time.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible, man. But I'm really happy that, I also popped you a message, when it was after the operation. You said you let everybody know it was a success, and like obviously we all really happy that it could have been much worse, and we're happy that it wasn't. And
I could have been one of those athletes that you just hear, this new top fit athlete ran a race and just dead.
Yeah,
I could have been there. I'm extremely grateful that I am not.
Yeah, we all are. I mean, and now we're gonna have you around again, hopefully before you go, just for a couple more classes. And
yeah, we skipped tonight, huh?
Yeah, we skip. Yeah, but I'll go tomorrow, and tomorrow's got no gi, so I like the no gi stuff more than the gi stuff.
It's
anyway.
so hot right now with the
gi. We had last week was the worst. And I just said, like, I'm not going in gi. I'm sorry, I can't. It was just. You end up going in gi, and then you take your gi off in any event because everyone else is doing it, and you're all no gi anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So
Or you keep wearing that gi and it gets so heavy and waterlogged with all of your sweat.
And I've got a white gi, so it stains very easily. So yeah. No, awesome, Juan. Thank you so much for coming on, and as I say, like, I'm really looking forward to your own seminar. I hope you can come to the gym as much as possible in this last
now
month.
I have to do it.
Yeah, it's on now. You've got to do it. So give us
it has to
dates,
happen.
please. Yeah. And yeah, no, I'm looking forward to getting some last little bit of knowledge from you before you go. And yeah, hopefully see you if I get to travel up. I'm planning to go to UK every now and then maybe. So it'll be nice to see you on that side.
Visit Sean?
No, it's just it's work and it's a few other stuff, but it's nice now because there's so many people. This is another thing about jiu-jitsu is because like Roberto is in Barcelona.
Yeah, he's moving there.
He's moving to Barcelona. Rio Grappling Club. I'm going to Croatia in April. Rio Grappling Club is in Croatia. UK, France, Spain. You can go to Nathan's in Chile. So if you're ever in Chile, then you can go. So it's that whole community, and now it's a global community rather than just the people in your suburb or your neighborhood like it was back in 2005.
We have friends wherever we go now.
Exactly.
It's like Bulgaria.
Yeah, we go Bulgaria. Yeah,
Alex.
Alex.
So that's what Alex said. He always did. He went places and he made friends by going to the first jiu-jitsu place you could find.
Mind you, Bulgaria, there was one of my guests, David, had a crazy story about Bulgaria, and so I'll still go though, but maybe just make sure we take Alex with us.
Go for the yogurt. Was that the other place?
I'm not 100% sure actually.
I've been joking around with it so much. It's just wrong in my head all the time.
Yeah. No, awesome. Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate it. And
thank
I hope
you so
to see
much.
you soon on the mats again.
Hope to be back.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that clip, I've got another one for you over here and over here. Please don't forget to subscribe over here and have a look at my other socials down in the description box below. Thanks for watching.